Paul Morana, online marketing strategist, and I'm starting a new series that will bring value to your marketing automation. Today, we're going to review the basic setup that you would need to run a webinar. There are lots of options for how you can make this work, but the structure I'll show you could work for many different marketing platforms and website types. You'll need the following things: email software, landing page or website builder, and then webinar or online meeting software. Since I'm an ActiveCampaign certified consultant, I'm going to demonstrate using ActiveCampaign for just about everything except the webinar itself. So let's get started. I'm going to show you everything from start to finish, but I'll also be speeding up the video so you don't have to wait. I'll tell you how long the entire process was at the end of the video. So we're inside of ActiveCampaign here. And first we need to set up our background information. So we need lists and tags. So I'm going to go to contacts, lists. Next we'll need a tag, two tags actually. And I like to add some context. And now we need a form, which is going to be in the website section. When creating a form, you can specify the action. So here I'm subscribing to a list and adding a tag. Next, I'm editing the form, updating the title and the paragraph, selecting the fields that I want to have, updating the field labels, making the field required, and finally, we're going to change the submit button to say register for webinar. Next, we are going to create two different automations. For our first automation, we will invite contacts to the webinar. So I'm going to add a trigger based on the tag we added in the previous step. And now I'm going to create an email based off of a pre-built ActiveCampaign template. I'm only going to lightly customize the sender details and a little bit of the body copy, since this is just for demonstration purposes, but you would need to go back and update these emails later. Next, I'm going to create two wait blocks. First, I'm going to wait 1 week, and the next block is a wait until, so I can specify the day of the week and the time I want the email to deploy. And next, I'm going to drag these blocks down to copy them because we need them for each email that we're going to send. There'll be 4 emails total, and for emails 2 through 4, I'm simply duplicating the template that I already have here, so they're all going to largely look the same. Finally, we're going to need a goal block in this automation. The goal block will pull the contacts out once they've registered. So you'll recall that the form gives the tag webinar registrant, and whenever that tag is detected, they will jump to that goal block. Now it's time for our second automation for webinar registrants confirmation and reminders. This will be triggered by the registration tag based on the form, and we're going to send out a bunch of different emails. We're going to use that same template that we used in the previous automation. The first email will be the webinar confirmation, which is delivered immediately and contains all of the pertinent information that the user needs, such as the date, time, and the link to join the webinar. And we're going to do a bunch of nurture emails, because if somebody registers for your webinar right away, but there are several days or even weeks between the time they registered and the time the webinar occurs, we want to stay in touch with them and make sure that they hear from us a few times before the day of the webinar. And we want to make sure that people attend our webinar, so we're going to send them 3 different reminders. The first will be a 1-day alert, letting them know that the webinar is tomorrow. Next, we'll do a 1-hour alert. And finally, a starting now alert, which you can send at exactly the time the webinar starts, or you could send it maybe 10 minutes before the webinar starts. Depending on how big your list is for this, it could take ActiveCampaign a little while to queue and send those emails, so you might want to give yourself a little bit of a buffer. I'm also going to include a webinar follow-up email. Usually people like to get a link to watch the replay, and you'll need to customize this email to include a link to the page where the replay exists. So now we're going to go through and schedule how these emails are delivered. The confirmation will be sent immediately, but for the rest of these emails, I'm going to use the yellow goal blocks because I want to control the date and the time that these emails are released. And unlike the white background wait blocks, which can be used as a wait for or a wait until conditions are met, we want the contacts to jump to the correct place in this automation regardless of when they register for the webinar. So regardless of whether that is the day before or 5 minutes before, we want to make sure that they get the most up-to-date appropriate information, and these goal blocks allow contacts to skip to a different place in the automation. I'm going to use a regular wait block for our last email, the webinar follow-up, which you can release and set to 5 minutes after you've updated that email with the link and information you want to send to your contacts. The last piece of this puzzle is a landing page where the users can register for the webinar. So I'm going to use a stock page from ActiveCampaign. This one includes a countdown timer, which you can set to your webinar's date. And I'm just doing some light customization here on the page for demonstration purposes. There are 2 calls to action. Both of them are going to lead to the form that we created at the beginning of this video. So once I put the form in place and I give that section of the page a name, I can tell those register now buttons to jump to the form. I'm just going to open up the form settings, turn off the double opt-in confirmation, and update the message people see when they submit the form. Okay, now that setup is complete, let's summarize what we've done. In our first automation, demo webinar invitation, we have our tag, which is the trigger, and then we have 4 email invitations that are spaced out by about a week and conditions to only deliver on weekdays at 9 a.m. in the contact's time zone. At the bottom of this, we have a goal block, which will allow contacts to skip to this block once they have registered. So anytime they hit the registration page, they get a tag webinar registrant, and that will allow them to jump to this block and skip over any remaining emails. Next, we have our registration landing page. So when we preview this page, it's got a countdown timer. It's got a register now button, which will jump down on the page to the form. The same for the bottom call to action. Anybody who fills out this form, name, email, and company, clicks register for webinar, they will see a message, thanks for signing up, and they will be added to the list that we specified and receive the tag that we specified. On that list, make sure that you deselect the double opt-in confirmation, or else they will have to click an email opting into the list a second time. And once they complete this registration, they will be removed from the invitation automation, as we said earlier, and they will enter off of this tag trigger, demo webinar registrant. They will immediately receive their confirmation email, and then they will wait at one of these wait blocks until the appropriate date. So if they register before June 5th, they will wait here and then they will be released to the next email. If they register after June 5th, they will still wait here and then jump to the next appropriate date. We did this because if they register right away, but your webinar is not for a month, we want to have additional nurture content for those contacts. And then we have a 1-day alert, a 1-hour alert, and a starting now alert. After that, we have a 10-day wait block here, and that's so that you have time to get your your replay onto a page and update this follow-up email with any relevant content. And then when you're ready, you can simply release this wait block by setting it to 5 minutes, and then all of your contacts will receive that follow-up email at that time. So don't forget to activate your 2 automations and test your system. So go to the page, fill out the form, and then make sure people are flowing through this sequence as you expect. So that's everything. I'm Paul Morena, online marketing strategist and ActiveCampaign certified consultant. Have a great day.